Okay, so today I wanted to do a video about, really about capitalism and specifically how capitalism relates to morality and how it's a system that really runs counter to morality in many ways by, encouraging cutthroat competition, and I think inevitably leads to corruption. I would agree that systems of communism and socialism have their downsides, obviously, as far as not providing incentives for people to contribute to society at their optimum level. A lot of people, if they're given all the creature comforts for survival, for a lot of people that's enough for them, and they're just sort of gonna do the minimum amount that they have to do in order to keep that going, rather than, give 100% to, making society as good as it could be, being as productive as they could be, and that's unfortunate. But I think on the other side, you have capitalism that it doesn't just encourage people to work hard, it also encourages people to take shortcuts and to pass costs on to other people in order to help themselves, and it also encourages corruption. I think that it's a nice idea to think that, we have this great entrepreneurial society where it's just easy for someone who has a really good idea to be successful, but the reality is that if you don't have a lot of financial backing, and specifically if you create a financial threat to someone who is more established, it doesn't matter if your idea is better, you're probably not going to succeed, and you're probably going to be taken out, by the government, who, is very much in bed with big business. I think that's obvious when you look at campaign contributions to politicians. Most of it is not from individuals, most of it is from corporations who are looking to better their bottom line. They're not looking to, what is going to be beneficial for the consumer, per se. In fact, in many instances, they're probably not looking at all toward what's going to benefit the consumer, if that means, lowering costs for the consumer. When I read the book Eating Animals, I guess it was a couple of years ago, it really opened my eyes to how inhumane people become in the pursuit of money, specifically creating conditions for animals that are unacceptable. And there is a reason why there's so much secrecy around factory farms, and I think honestly if people could see the conditions in which their food is raised, they would be disgusted and demand some kind of government action. And that's why it's kept very hush-hush, and that's why a lot of, say, slaughterhouses employ illegal immigrants that have very much an incentive not to talk about what goes on where they work, the conditions that the animals are forced to endure, and the lack of sanitation and all of that. One thing that made me think about that too is this whole business with the founder of Chick Fil A, coming out and making some homophobic statements, which I wasn't surprised by. I already knew that, the founders of Chick Fil A gave money to anti-gay organizations, and I already did not patronize Chick Fil A for that reason, so it wasn't a surprise. But what really irritates me about his self-righteous stance against homosexuality is, probably a lot of his, the chickens raised for Chick Fil A, they probably undergo tremendous suffering like most factory farm animals do. And when he talks about how he feels that society is inviting God's wrath by accepting homosexuality, okay, we're not inviting God's wrath by destroying the environment with factory farms or disrespecting animals and not just killing them for food, but making them suffer in horrible conditions that we would not wish upon our dog or our cat. I mean, I don't have anything against eating meat per se, but I do have very much something against the unnecessary suffering of animals that goes on, and I do think that it's something that, well, if I believed in God, I would think that it would be something that would cry out to God for some sort of recompense somewhere down the line. When the world has so much unnecessary death with war and disease and lack of food and a lack of basic sanitation, really homosexuality is going to be what pisses God off, not the fact that we're letting thousands of children starve to death every day and thousands more die of preventable diseases. That's not going to make God mad, but we accept gay marriage, or don't kick our gay teen out on the street for being gay, and that's going to make God angry. And people wonder why there are agnostics and atheists in the world. I can tell you that's why, because of people like that and attitudes like that. It's just the absolute worst of what so-called religion has to offer, and I just wish that people weren't so hypocritical and that they could get their priorities in order. And I realize that would require really taking a stand and some actual sacrifice. I think that a lot of the reason why religious people focus on homosexuals is because it's easy to focus on a minority group than it is to, say, demand that your government stop bombing innocent women and children in the pursuit of whatever it is that their, foreign policy, or demanding that our government do more to prevent poverty. It's just, anyway, that's what I think, and thank you for watching my video.